realized was these guys like Ed Milet and Bradley, they're getting slammed with all of these messages that say exactly the same thing. Here's how you book the big names. You pull out your phone and you literally do a 30-second video. That's it. I literally will look at my camera. I go, Ed, what's going on? It's Erik Allen out here in Coeur d'Alene. I know you used to have a house out here. I know you just released your brand new book, Power of One More. Let me help you promote that on my podcast. Let's talk about your journey of writing that thing, and we'll talk soon. Boom. 30 seconds. That's it.
Excellent. Hey, welcome to the Fireside Podcast Syndicate. It's a new community, all for master pods, new pods, guest pods. We're here to provide advice, tips, anything you can. And I really, really want to share with you today one of the guys in our community, Erik Allen. Welcome to the show.
Dude, I'm so pumped to be here, man. I'm chatting again with you because it's been a couple years since you and I chatted on my show, man. And such an honor to be back on and chatting with you, man, in this new community. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely. So tell me, like you said, it's been a couple years, maybe even more.
Yeah.
I think I've been gone from Texas for over 2 years now. But
wow.
Tell me, what's been going on? What have you been up to?
Man, I've just been podcasting like a madman. Episode 256 of my episode of the Erik Allen Show drops this week. And it's just been working on a public speaking event that I did this last weekend. I spoke 25 minutes on mindset in front of about 120 people, which was the biggest event that I've done, longest talk that I've done. And it was awesome. Got the bug to go out and do it again and just continue to teach people on how to launch podcasts, man. So I have a self-paced course. I have a work on me one-on-one course. And man, I just love to see people jumping into the podcast game.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And I'm so happy that you mentioned about the stage speaking that you did. That's definitely my kind of direction. And I got a paid gig next month, actually, myself. So
come on.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. How'd that feel? What, was that your first, or how many times have you done that?
So I've been in Toastmasters for probably 7 months now. And I would highly recommend go join the local Toastmasters club, wherever you're at. That helped me prepare for this. So I gave quite a few 5 to 7 minute talks over the last couple months. And then they helped me structure, getting rid of the ahs, the ums, right? Make sure that I'm pacing vocally and physically, like pausing, things like that. And then I wrote the speech. I worked with a guy who's a speech writer and a speaking coach, 2 different coaches on that. And man, it felt good to get up there. I got a little bit of cotton mouth when I first started, and I worked my way through it and just kept going, dude. And it was fun, man. And just had a blast, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. I do recommend coach, because I got a coach myself, James Bate. It was through the Les Brown training and John Bates. My apologies, John. But John Bates, who just helps people with TEDx talks, really, right?
Awesome.
And I'm sure, like yourself, you don't know what's coming out of you.
Yeah,
like, you don't know what's going to pour out of you. You think you got it already set, but then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, where'd that come from, right?
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. I mean, I was telling my story, and we talked about mindset, and we talked about setting goals and surrounding yourself with the right people. And there was moments in my story, I think maybe because it was my first time talking in front of that many people, sharing my story, I got emotional on that stage, man. Like it was like the real raw me coming out of that. And I had to pause for a minute and go, now, okay, I got to breathe through this. But man, I think that's what made it real. And I got a lot of great feedback. A lot of people coming up to me afterwards saying, man, thanks for sharing your story. I appreciate that. I went through something similar. And so it was just cool to be a part of that, man. And definitely got the bug to hopefully make a bigger impact on the next one.
Oh, that's awesome. No, that's great to hear that you got some good feedback, because you never know, right? Yeah, you want to make sure you're always bringing value, especially when you're at a big venue like that. And
totally,
you want that opportunity to come again, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell me, now let's go a little into the depths of what kind of programs are you using? I know everybody there's so many different podcast things out there. With you, you've done 500. Like, you're a valuable asset to the podcast community for sure. So kind of walk me through kind of what you do in regards to your podcast. What kind of systems are you, utilizing? And, I'm sure there's some inexpensive things to maybe now you're into the more expensive things at the moment as well. Love to hear a little bit about that.
Cool, man. Yeah. So I mean, I use now a Sony ZV-E10, camera, obviously a much bigger upgrade than I had just on the laptop camera that I had when I first started. Right. So I've upgraded the camera a few times over the years. I've upgraded the microphone a few times over the years. The lights are now Godox lights. Right. So I've upgraded all of that. I started out recording shows on FaceTime and Skype using Ecamm on my computer. And now I use Riverside, and I love Riverside. I'm a big fan of it. Just the capabilities of being able to record, an audio track for you, an audio track for me, HQ quality, 1080 quality on the video, but it also will record and allow me to download in the full size for YouTube, but a 9:16 version for shorts and reels, etc. I can also do a square size. So I use Riverside, love that. And then what I do is I actually take the 9:16 full episode, and then I upload it to a platform called Vidyo.ai, which you mentioned Opus. It's very similar to Opus. I'm uploading the video. It's creating 20 to 25 up to 1 minute shorts, right? Different, reels, stuff like that, captions, cool templates, things like that. And then what I do is I download 4 or 5 of them that I like, and then I actually pull the timestamp of that video clip, right? And then I go and I plop the full size version into my iMovie on my Mac. I still do all the editing myself, but I then take that timestamp and clip out a trailer and put it at the beginning of my show, cut out the beginning and cut out the very end where we're just kind of BSing around. And then I just do my show. It takes me like 15 minutes now that I use Vidyo.ai. So that's what I use mostly. And then I'm personally going and uploading and scheduling the shows at the beginning of the week. So typically about Monday or Tuesday, I've got my full show set to schedule to go out to every single platform out there come Friday morning, 7 a.m. Pacific. That's been my release time for the last 6 years.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, AI is really, really taken over a lot of the hard work in some manners, right? Especially the video editing. Like
Totally.
You're using Vidyo.ai, which I have to check out. I'm using Opus. And I'm sure there's a lot more to play around with. But since it's so brand new, it's only been around a year, right? Just over a year.
Totally.
And the amount of legwork it's already doing is impressive.
Yeah.
So it's kind of great to hear that you're utilizing that and how it's knocked you down to, what did you say, 15 to 17 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, I used to, manually go and watch every episode that I was, editing it, and I would manually try to track down a trailer that I liked. And Vidyo.ai, it's Vidyo.ai, does a really good job actually of creating clips. And so I rarely have to edit the clips at all or move the timeline around. It does a really good job of finding the perfect spots that I want to highlight, man. I don't know how AI does it, but it's awesome, man. So I just take that clip and do it myself, dude.
Awesome. And when it comes to, like, you got some big names on your show over the years. Ed Milet, Tim Story. Man, I was looking at your reel on LinkedIn actually, and it was just showing me so many amazing names. Kind of share a few of those names and kind of walk us through how you got big names on your show.
Yeah, I've been blessed to speak with some pretty cool people, man. From Ed Milet to Brad Lee, John Gordon, David Meltzer, a lot of folks out there. Jim the Rookie Morris has been on a couple of times, Ken Shamrock, Dan Caldwell from Tap Out a couple of times. Here's what happened. When I first started podcasting and I'd reach out to guests, I did the same thing that probably 99% of people do. They have a template and it says, this is who I am. I want to have you on my show. And then they just change the name at the top and they send that to them via email or whatever contact form they have. I did that when I first started with Top Rated in May. That was my first podcast I did in 2017. And then I quickly realized that if I wanted to nail down the bigger names, I needed to do something different that other people were not doing. And so what I realized was these guys like Ed Milet and Bradley, they're getting slammed with all of these messages that say exactly the same thing. Here's how you book the big names. You pull out your phone and you literally do a 30-second video. That's it. I literally will look at my camera and I go, Ed, what's going on? It's Erik Allen out here in Coeur d'Alene. I know you used to have a house out here. I know you just released your brand new book, Power of One More. Let me help you promote that on my podcast. Let's talk about your journey of writing that thing and we'll talk soon. Boom. 30 seconds. That's it. All I do is send that video to them in Instagram DM. I don't put any text. I just send the video. And then 9 out of 10 times I'm getting a response back because they're getting curious about the video because I didn't put any text in there, right? And they can click on it and see that it's short And I'm not reaching out saying, hey, I want you on my podcast because I'm cool. I'm reaching out because I want to help them. I want to bring value to them. Like if you released a book, a coaching course, something, you got an event, I'm saying, dude, let me help you promote that. I'm going to give you free promotion, right? That's what gets those guys intrigued, right? Because nobody's going to come up to you or allow you to like pick their brain, right? If I went up to Ed and said, hey, can I pick your brain for 30 minutes? He's going to be, hell no. But if I'm like, hey, can I help you promote this? Absolutely. That's how you book the big names.
Man, and you know what? That's what you did with me.
Yeah.
You sent me a video. When you brought that up, I'm like, and I loved it. I'm like, wow, this is unique. Like, who's this guy? And I went, searched you out and checked you out, and we connected.
Yeah. Still do it to this day. That's exactly the same way I've been doing it for 5 years, man.
Oh, it's such a sweet, easy way to do it too. And it shows that you're real, right?
Yeah.
That you are a person and they can feel your energy. I felt your energy through it. And I thought, wow, I don't even know where you found me, right? Like I was just like, this is wild, man.
Yeah.
No, that's great information, and I think that helps anybody because I think a lot of people are like, where do I get a guest? Where do I get the big guest? How do I, grow into that area? Now, do you have a system at the beginning where you send a link that someone can actually walk and it kind of guides them into getting into your show or anything like that? Do you have anything like that?
Like when I'm reaching out to guests and want them on my show, like where do I send them? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like kind of how do
Yeah.
they schedule with you? Do you send a calendar kind of link? What's your role in that direction?
Totally. Yep. If you don't have a calendar link and you're trying to book guests, just stop. Like go get the free calendar link and just do it.
Yeah.
That's the most annoying thing for me is when people are like, hey, come on my show. And then I'm like, cool, send me your calendar link. Well, I don't have one. And then we play calendar battleship and that sucks, right? Because I'm going back and forth, right? Just create a free calendar link, right? So when I book them, I get the thumbs up from them that, yep, let's move forward. Some of them might say, hey, email my team here, or hey, email this guy, or yeah, just give me your link. I literally just have it in my notes pad on my phone. And so if I'm anywhere in the house or I'm out on the road or running errands and they get back to me, I'm just grabbing my calendar link and I go, cool, here, pick a time and date that works best for you. Now, for me personally, I only like to record 4 shows a month. So once I hit my number 4, I usually shut it down so I can't book anymore in that month. One, that allows me to go a full month of content right there, right? So I'm a couple months ahead, but I don't want to overwhelm myself. Like in 2021, I released 100 episodes of my own shows because I had 2 podcasts at that time. And then I was a guest on 104 podcasts that year on top of that. And so I was like, dude, I got to slow down. I got to start working on some things. So now I limit myself to only recording 4 shows a month.
Awesome. And it shows that you're more professional when you do have those things set up.
Totally.
And like
Yep.
you said, it's simple, it's free. Like Calendly is free. You can set up one link and that's all you may need.
Yep,
Right.
exactly. And so once they go and book it, I have some specific questions that I ask them in there. I'm like, hey, do you have anything specific that you want to promote? What's your social media? I'll do my research, but if you want me to call out any specific links, please drop them in here, right? I make it easy for them because then it gives me the idea of like, okay, cool. They want to talk about this new book or they want to talk about this conference, right? I'll make sure that I touch base on that specifically. If they just like put something generic in there, cool. I'll go do my own research. I'll do it. But I want to make sure that I'm touching base on exactly what they want to talk about. And so it's all done automated. Once they schedule and book it, automatically sends them the link to my studio in Riverside, and we just make it happen, man.
That's awesome. And you're right. I'm going to bring up the word again, preparation, right? Because you are going to do some research. And I think that's key because you want to ask specific questions for your guest.
Totally.
Right.
Yep.
You want to get to know them before you start talking to them. And like you said, if they have something going, you want to try and promote that. You want to help them in some way. It's about bringing value, always about bringing value. And I think that's impressive. That's why you've done 500 shows.
Yeah. Thanks.
Tell me a little bit about if someone wants to be a guest. You've been 104 in 1 year. Like, we got 52 weeks. So that's like 2 times a week on top of doing your own.
Yeah. I was almost recording a show every day of 2021 or I was on a show. So yeah, it was definitely a crazy year, but look, if the fastest way to grow your own show is to be a guest on other people's show. And there's so many Facebook groups that you can literally go and Google into Facebook, search podcast group or podcast guest, right? A ton will show up. Go join those groups. Those groups will allow you to post like, hey, here's who I am. I want to be a guest on podcasts. And that's how I book so many. literally when I would go in there once a quarter to probably 4 or 5 groups, and I would just tell my story. Hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I can talk about. And I would get booked on like 10 podcasts in a week just by dropping those in. So it just continued to build off of that. But then you never know who's going to listen to your episode on that person's podcast. See, I was like a guest on a podcast that was in Tennessee. And then there was a local radio station in Tennessee that heard that episode, called me up and said, Erik, we want to interview on the radio. Cool. So they did a video. And then he messages me like a month later. He goes, hey, dude, we forgot to tell you that we released your video. But in the first week, it hit 50,000 views on YouTube. Right. So you never know who's going to hear your name, hear your story, guest it on as many as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to put a plug in, that's what our community is about, is to help people get guests. Because I think that was one of my things, was because it can take time looking for guests sometimes.
Totally.
You're looking through LinkedIn or wherever you're looking for that niche that you're helping to bring value to, that you actually enjoy. But finding the right person to be on your podcast is really key sometimes. So you can get some listeners, you can build that audience up, and people know what kind of person that you're going to have on there, right?
Yeah, and I'm probably a little bit more unique than probably most podcasters, but at the beginning of the year, I put together my podcast wish list of people that I want on my show. So that's my target wish list that I try to reach out to. And the goal is at the end of the year to at least have half of them come on my show. So I'm going to reach out to some of our unicorn names like Eric Thomas and, Les Brown, some of those bigger names, right? And then I've got some specific people that I just connect with. And I'm like, I want to get those guys on the show. And then what ends up happening is people throughout the year will reach out and say, oh, I think I'd be a great guest on your show. Or I know this guy would be a great guest on your show. Unless there's alignment specifically with me, like I definitely want them on my show, I actually charge people to be a guest on my podcast when they reach out. So if it's an inbound request to be on my show, I charge a fee because it takes me off my wish list. It takes me off my target list, right? And so I'm like, hey, that's great. I can take you on, but I'm going to have to charge a fee. Now, if they pay the fee, I'm going to give a month of sponsorship on my podcast, and their show's going to jump the line. I'm going to release it in 2 weeks. They're going to get the raw, unedited version. They can do whatever they want. So I'm going to hook them up, but I got to charge a fee if they're taking me off my target list.
I love that, because I think one thing that people enjoy about wanting to build a podcast is, how do I monetize it?
Yeah.
And that's one of do you have any other ways to monetize?
Dude, this is going to be really funny. I'm a seller on Fiverr. So I create user-generated content for brands. They send me their product. I do a 30-second video, right? I do that. One of my gigs on Fiverr that has paid me more money, probably the second highest paid on gig. And I've been on Fiverr for 5 years now. But my highest paid sponsorship comes from Fiverr. I literally have a gig on there that says, I'll promote your brand, your product, your company on my podcast. And the minimum fee is $100. People go on there, pay me $100. I add their logo to my website for a month. Done deal. Doesn't take me longer than 15 minutes. I'm getting paid. Cool. That Fiverr is the best way to get sponsored, dude. As long as I align with that product or that brand, I'm going to do it, because it's just free money for me. It's easy for me to do that. But there, you can do that. You can create affiliate links, right? You can promote your own products, which I actually haven't done a really good job of promoting my own products on my podcast up until the last few months ago. But you can do that. Promote your own products, promote products that you can do affiliate commissions on, things like that, right? Go to Fiverr, charge people to be on your show. There's so many ways that you can monetize your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I know some of these platforms that you put yours in, you'll get to a point, your audience or something along that line, and then all of a sudden they'll add in advertisements that you'll get paid on, right?
Yep. I'm on Blubrry, is where I host my podcast. Highly would recommend it. They're an amazing company. I was on Anchor until about 2 years ago. I switched over to Blubrry, and obviously Anchor's free, and I think Spotify bought them and things like that. But when I reached out to Blubrry, I was like, hey, I'm on Anchor. How do I get it over to your guys' platform? I want to look at some deeper analytics. Now, first of all, if you're a newer podcaster, I would say don't look at the analytics. Don't look at how many downloads you're looking at. I didn't look for 5 years. I didn't care. I did podcasting because I love it. But I wanted some deeper analytics in Blubrry, so I switched over. They jumped on a Zoom call with me. They literally walked me through exactly what I needed to do to move everything over, plug it into my WordPress site. Awesome customer service. $20 a month. Can't beat it. They do have those ads that they can insert into your show if you turn it on so that you can make money. But I love Blubrry. Just hyping those guys up. I would definitely recommend looking at them if you're looking to host your podcast there.
Awesome. I was going to ask you that question. I'm glad you put it out there, because I think some people always go, where do I start? Which platform should I go on?
Yeah.
And I never heard of Blubrry. That's pretty cool. There's a lot of things that you've plugged today that I'm definitely going to check out and see. Now, if someone's just starting out, what do you think that they should really grab? I know it's been a while since you started, but
Yeah.
what do you think would really be the quick and easy?
So when I coach students, there's a couple things I would recommend. Number one, pick the topic that you're passionate about and talk about that. I don't care if it's quilting, Legos, whatever it is. Talk about that, right? And you can talk about whatever you want, but whatever you want to talk about, don't be scared to talk. Like, don't have that in your mindset, like, well, no one's going to listen to my show because I'm the only person that likes this thing. Or there's going to be people that are going to find your show no matter what. So number one, whatever you're passionate about, talk about that. And number two, record 5 to 8 episodes before you release your first one. I say that because too many people start podcasting. They'll do 3, they'll do 4, and then they'll get tired of it. They're like, oh my gosh, like it's so much work. And then they're trying to play catch up. So record 5 to 8 episodes before you drop your first one. Give yourself some breathing room. I think one of the statistics I saw online was 90% of podcasts never make it to episode 7. So how do you be successful in podcasting? Just don't quit. Like, I'm ranked in the top 1.5% globally. I've been doing this a while. So I haven't quit. I'm just continuing to put out content, right? And people get into podcasting with unrealistic expectations. They think they're going to be the next Joe Rogan and make 100 million, right? They think you're going to have 100,000 downloads, or they're going to start making a bunch of money. And they just think they're not going to get the haters and the comments and stuff like that. It's all natural, right? When you're putting out a podcast, do it because you love it, right? Talk about what you love and you're passionate about, and the right people will listen to your show. And do not look at the downloads. I promise you, if you look at the downloads in the first 3 years, 4 years, right? If that's a thing, you're going to get discouraged, because a lot of people go in with unrealistic expectations. Oh my gosh, I only have 100 downloads. Oh my gosh, I only have, 500 downloads. That's 500 people that you impacted, right? Even if it was one person, that's huge, right? So I say, don't look at the downloads, especially when you're starting, because it will discourage you. And I would say, just put it out because you love to do it, man.
No, absolutely. And I agree with you about, filling up with recorded content. I used to set up a day, a Friday or Saturday, and I would just book like 8 shows.
That's awesome.
And just boom, 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 boom. And I'm good for 2 months.
Yeah.
Right. But at that time, like you say, I was doing all the editing too. So I needed that extra time to get each one set up and edited and add in the, intro, the extra, get it all going up and load it up into YouTube and do all that. Now, you don't have to do video. Podcasts are, meant for audio, but I do believe, and I'm sure I want to hear your point. I believe it helps with content. It helps with the visual part of it that people like. They want to know who they're looking at and what they're doing. And YouTube's such a great, it's a Google engine, right?
Yeah.
Can reach more people. And then on top of that, with these new AI, you can split up and you got like so much content,
Totally.
so much content out there now that you can create within seconds. Yep. We're in Gary V's world now in AI,
Totally.
right?
Yeah, man. I think when it comes to podcasting, do what makes sense for you. Like, if you're not comfortable on camera, like, figure out a way to get used to it at some point, right? But like, don't let that hold you back from starting your podcast. If you started out as audio only for a while and then switch and then do both later, fine. But there's different audiences that are going to listen to it audio, video audio. And then there's another audience that are going to listen to it on the video or watch it, right? When I'm listening to podcasts, I'll actually go to YouTube and then turn on the podcast that I want. I'll listen to it while I'm walking around the house doing air, cleaning it up or, doing some projects, right? I'll listen to the audio version, maybe when I'm driving, right? So people are going to listen to it at different times, but I say do both because it's different markets. And if you go to look at my videos on YouTube, the actual episodes, some of them don't have that many views, maybe 10, maybe 15, but then I'll release a short or 3 or 4 shorts from that episode, and they'll go over 2,500 views on the short, which is drawing people to my website, right? Drawing people to the show. So do both, man.
No, absolutely. I used to do hour-long shows.
Wow.
Yeah, your content isn't completely viewed because it's so long.
Yeah.
And you're correct. And I think that's where the shorts really come in. And shorts are huge. People like to grab little bites.
Yep.
And when you have an hour-long show, which is, I don't I recommend it at times because you can pull so much content out of there, or these AI platforms will just
Yep.
pull, and then you have like really good quantity, and you post that stuff, and people haven't even heard it because they didn't watch your whole show,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But now with our community, Erik, that we're both in now,
Yeah.
I do find that in time, it's going to be a very powerful engine in itself. That when someone's looking for a guest, we're going to have some people looking for a podcast show, right? And I think someone who's starting out not only will have so much expertise, we got already years of expertise in the community now, especially you amongst a whole bunch of others now that are in the community, that someone starting out could have that 5 guest show or 30 guest show immediately. Like
Totally.
you could really constantly book and have it all set up. Now, tell me what your thoughts are in regards to the Fireside Podcast Syndicate, and what your thoughts are on how you're going to utilize it.
Man, it's super cool that you invited me to this. I think having a community is huge. One, like you can post questions in there. People are going to answer that. Like you said, it's a wide range of people who have been doing this a while. Some of them are new, some have been around for a little bit of time. But when you're in a community like the Fireside Podcast Syndicate, right? It's where people can ask questions. There's no judgment, right? Like most 99% of podcasts I ever talk to, they're amazing people, right? Like they're going to help you out. If you ask a question, hey, where do I go for hosting? Or how do I book this guest? Or how do I do this? Just drop it in the community, and somebody's going to jump in with a couple different options, maybe that will help you get started, right? Or give you the resources to go figure that out, right? Or give you the resources to go read some more data on that. Like what type of equipment do I use, right? Again, my website has a resources section. You can see all the equipment I use. You can see all of my courses. You can see the free stuff that I offer. It's all in there. Same with your community, right? People are going to post in there. They're going to post suggestions, things like that. I'm a big fan of community because community is what builds a massive network of awesome podcasters, right? Podcasting has opened the door for so many relationships and partnerships and collaborations and speaking opportunities and trips. And man, it is the best thing that you can do to market your brand for the littlest amount of money. So I would say, rely on the community, ask those questions. People will get back to you, man.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And the community is going to have a classroom. Well, it has a classroom. It's already starting to build up, but it's going to be amazing. Now, as we finish off here, Erik, I remember a question that you asked me, and I think it was one of, you had some fun questions. And I think one of them was, what's your favorite color?
Oh, yeah, I'm black. Man, I like wearing black shirts, black everything, right? So I literally, like, my drawer over there, I just buy bulk, like 15 black shirts at a time, and I do that probably once a quarter, man, and I'll wear them all day long. That's my go-to. And I also I work remote since 2015, and so shorts, slippers, and a black shirt and a hat, that's my go-to attire every day for the last 10 years almost. So
I love it. I love it. Hey, man, I want to say thank you, and share us where people can find you.
awesome. Yeah. ErikAllenMedia.com. It's ErikAllen media.com. I'm probably most active on Instagram. It's just Erik, ErikG Allen. I'm happy to respond to every comment and every DM that comes through, man. So I'd love to connect with all your listeners out there too.
I appreciate that. And that's what our community is all about, is promoting what you have. There's some communities that they don't want you to promote. They don't want you to do this. We're all about building, developing, and supporting our community. Thank you, Erik. I appreciate everything that you shared today. And if you want to get more of Erik, follow him on his site or come to our community, and you're definitely going to be welcomed. I appreciate everything, guys.